The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquart. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. Welcome to the show. A little day late. Happy Halloween. Happy first day of November, whatever. Makes the most sense at this point. I heard some very scary words in the classroom this morning that we're almost to the first day of winter, and I really didn't care much for that. But in watching Facebook, we're obviously building on the whitetail season and deer season. Everybody around the country is starting to share all kinds of pictures of dead deer. So welcome, and with whatever necessary welcomes go with it. Here we are for episode number 417. Busy weekend.
Busy weekend. A lot of stuff going on.
There's a little derby in Dunbar, too.
There was. There was.
I'm so glad that TJ had a good weekend.
Yeah. I've heard some good stuff. Hopefully Alex will have his videos up soon. I'll be checking that out. But, I heard it was, excellent on-track action. I heard there was a experiment with some demolition derby freestyle. I don't know if you saw the video of the guy going over the van and nose diving and pirouetting, and I hope an insurance carrier doesn't see that, but it looked fun from where I was sitting. At least that part did. So, but you know what? Like TJ told us, he's always about pushing the edge and pushing the envelope and giving the people what they want and something new. So, I've heard a lot of good things.
I am not a fan of autocross as a whole. I don't like it.
I don't think this was actually like an autocross though.
It's freestyle. I understand. I understand the difference between the two, but at the end of the day, the same risks are there, and I get real nervous about that. We had some local tragedy tied to that, and it still weighs pretty heavy in the back of my mind. I don't want to see anybody get hurt over anything like that, because if you're not thinking about what you're doing, you're bringing a car that potentially has solid suspension, and there's no give. It's designed to be as rigid as possible. Now you're jumping it off of a berm, and maximum destruction, and I think it was like a Magnum that ended up lawn darting through the side of that camper. They're not quite built the same way,
Yeah, it's it happens, but no, I understand, and I understand your concerns. But again, hats off to TJ and the crew. I've heard a lot of good things. Hopefully I can get a chance and check stuff out here pretty quick.
It looked great. I liked the hearses that showed up.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah,
why not, right?
Yeah, why not? Give it a shot. New York guys did pretty good.
Everybody did very well.
Yeah, Matt Gaskin, I believe, second or third. Yeah, because it was Mad Mike.
Pennsylvania took care of New York at the end, apparently.
And then, actually, I think reading I think he ended up getting stuck.
Yeah,
is what happened. So I honestly I don't know, but Matt Gaskin Jr. is a hell of a builder, hell of a driver. It's great to see him go down there and have a run like that.
One Thomas Dowd earned some street cred down there.
How about our boy Tommy Dowd? I mean, he's been busier than heck. 2 years ago, maybe now, 3 years ago, he started his own business. And unfortunately, that damn business thing has really cut into his derby.
Yeah, it's amazing how work really cuts into the fun time,
it's
right?
Terrible. But yes, I did hear that Tommy went down there, and I mean, Tommy's another guy. I mean, he's always had top flight stuff. Always been a great builder. Always been a great driver. So it was great to hear about that. Tracy Young and crew, I believe they went down there and cleaned house in a class or two.
So I believe he got third. We're gonna be able to run through all the unified point stuff here in just a second, but we'll sort of shake stuff down just for the local ties. Yeah, Tracy Young and Ryan Decker got first and third in the minivans and split Mad Dog in the class.
That's cool.
They did okay.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
If I remember, was it Brent Hubbard? Might even have been Brent Hubbard was third.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that would be a 1-2-3 sweep for New York.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I heard a lot of good stuff about that. So, hats off to all those guys. And we've said, from the time we've been on, doing this, we've said that we wished New York guys would start traveling more, and man, they are definitely they're building a pretty big reputation.
And you know what? The thing is, the thing with Buried Alive 3 being moved to Dunbar it just made it that much closer, so it was that much easier to justify the trip.
You know, it was just out of curiosity. I got on MapQuest or whatever they call it nowadays, these newfangled stuff, and it was still almost 6 hours. So it had to be like down near Maryland, but on the Pennsylvania border, I assume.
It's the same part of the state that we almost only go to anymore. It's within 45 minutes of the same hub between Washington County and New Alex and Pittsburgh.
Also, it's the other
it's
side.
It's all in that same area. Yeah, because Frankie Guys had a bunch of shows there. Frankie's cleanup show's coming up.
I saw that.
It's gonna be at the same track.
Yeah, I
and
did see that.
and I'm pretty confident that TJ's idea of going all in on this particular effort is going to pay dividends with the number of cars that they had. I think that he's probably going to outgrow that facility fairly soon.
Yeah, it's definitely a good problem to have when you are when you outgrow every time you move to a facility. It only takes a year or two to do it. So, good for him, like we said, and of course Frankie. Frankie's got Frankie worked down there at Deadman. Frankie's, I feel like we don't.
Donnie Hartzell and Austin went down there.
But back to Frankie, I feel like we don't mention Frankie enough, but Frankie is absolutely one of the best guys in Derby. I mean, he helps everybody, tack, flag, he helps support other shows. Frankie's definitely a really good dude, and he's definitely about making the Derby world someplace better. So I just wanted to get that out there. And, of course, his wife, she supports him and everything. She's right there with him. So I don't know if she's as big a fan of the deer hunting as Frankie is, because they put up a picture and there was, 40 or 50 deer heads on the house and in the living room. I got to maybe not bug them about derbying and maybe bug them about deer hunting, but, So, but no, it was great to see. Devin and Christy were both down there working
as well.
So it's good to see so many promoters are working together. There's all that can do is help to build the sport
as a whole. On the topic of deer hunting, did you see what Sam Bando shot?
Yeah, that was a pretty nice muley out west. Crazy. A guy.
It was the size of an Impala.
A guy I work with.
The car, not the animal, because that would be Anyway,
a guy I work with, his nephew lives up near Gates Chili in Rochester.
Okay.
And he shot this thing that looked like it should be on TV. Like he's holding it out here like this. And Jeremy Gully, I sent him a picture. He's like, hey, you see the way he's holding that? He's back farther. He's like, it's not as big as you think. And so I've been kind of checking this stuff out. And this guy was as proud as could be holding the antlers out like this. And it looks like he could fall. Just this monster thing. And I'm like, if something like that walked by me, if I was on the ground, I'd probably just have a heart attack. If I was in a tree stand, I'd probably fall out, then have the heart attack. So it's a good thing I don't see those animals. But,
over in Caledonia, near all the soybean fields, way back when, Andrew McNamara, the guy that was the store manager at the store that I used to work at Lakeland Equipment, shot a piebald that fit similar description to what you just said, but it was the modeled white and brown. Oh my gosh, it was a gorgeous deer, and I always picked on him because it's like, oh wow, here's something unique and big. Let's kill it.
It's funny you talk about a piebald. I've lived in my house now for 22 years, and I've seen a lot of deer around the area. My brother-in-law's killed a lot of deer. This spring, late spring, early summer, Zach was out putting cameras up, and he was down on the farm we hunt. And he saw a piebald out, as he was doing it. And he came home and was because I'd never seen one. So, he was, he was super excited the fact he saw a piebald. And I was, kind of hoping, thinking about, him getting it. But then I talked to somebody and they're like, they said Indians always, not Indian, indigenous people have claimed that a piebald is it's like a godly deer. And if you shoot it, you will be cursed. So I heard that, and I'm like, dude, you can't shoot that thing because we already got one cursed hunter in the family. We can't have another one. So hopefully he doesn't have to turn down the shot at the piebald. So.
It gets even worse when he realizes that he had to grow up as a Giants fan, right?
Hey, how many Super Bowls does Buffalo have?
None.
Okay, just check.
4 in a row. 4 in a row trips. That's about it.
But they got. Did you know that the only team with more world championships than the Giants is Green Bay?
Then the Giants or the New York
Giants. New York football Giants.
With more world championships?
Mm-hmm. Because they won championships.
Oh, because of
before
before the Super
two
Bowls. Before, yeah.
Three, I think.
They won 2 or 3 leading up to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Inception of the Super Bowl, the 2 after, and then they won the 31, and then they lost to they beat the Patriots and lost to the Broncos or something like that back in 31.
We lost to Baltimore, beat Denver.
I thought I was talking about Green Bay.
Oh, Denver, Bills, Patriots.
David Tyree, one of my favorite catches in football, mostly because I helped beat the Patriots. Anyway, it has nothing to do with
Syracuse.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, played Syracuse.
Anyway, we've got a recap of all of the stuff from the Unified Points Championship queued up. We're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna get Ken Kiskadden on the phone and talk a little bit about that. So hang with us. We'll be right back, and then we're gonna be talking to Johnny Shanks on the back half of the show. So we'll catch up with Ken here in a few minutes. But first, we want to tell you a little bit about what happened with the Unified Points Championship and some giant rings that were handed out down at Buried Alive 3. The Unified Points Series was in action over the weekend at Buried Alive down in Dunbar, Pennsylvania, and J.D. Loreen officially clinching the 2022 Unified Points Series Championship, a new record set for most points scored, still with a couple events left on the schedule. J.D. Loreen with 202 points. He is second, chased by Steven Sickles, who has now clinched second place. Steven Sickles with 148 points in the real fight now. As for third place, Scotty Drevenak has 73 points after Buried Alive. Ty Richards is right there with 68. Dennis Hogan right there with 66. Trevor Jones, Don Santel, Bill Miller, Mark Metz, Cody Klumke back through 10th place, and then trying to break into the top 10. There's a couple other drivers that are right there on the cusp, so a lot of action still to come, a lot of things still to be decided. Beyond the record-setting effort by J.D. Loreen with 202 points scored. Again, that sets a record for the most points scored ever in the Unified Points Series. That brings us to the results from Buried Alive. Powder Puff class was Melanie Reed, got the win over Cheyenne Adams and Heather Ridinger. Emily Dawnbaugh ended up with a Mad Dog in the ladies' heat. The Bone Stock full-size Sean Glover got the win over Josh Decker. Andrew Mullins, Andrew Myers got the Mad Dog in that class. Minivans, Ryan Decker got the win in the minivans over Brett Hibbard. Tracy Young was third. Ryan Decker and Tracy Young sharing the Mad Dog awards there with first and third place efforts to be backed up by their Mad Dogs. Youth Compacts with Jason DiLoretto over Chase Clemo and Aiden Shannon. Bumper Swap Compact class, first 2 wins on the weekend for J.D. Loreen. J.D. Loreen won that one. Kyle Baker, Jacob Simmons, and Nick Rivetti with the Mad Dog win there. And then the limited weld side of things, Sam Smith with the win over Sean Smith and Zach Hoffman. Mad Dog Award, Mike Klinger. Name is a bit of a blast from the past. The second win of the weekend for Steven Sickles came in the Most Wanted Fine Arts class over Josh Decker, Andrew Meyer, Jeff Fatty Clark got the Mad Dog Award there. Steven's win in the Gut and Go full size anchored that 2-win weekend. Jacob Luchik was second place. Dave Fulton with third. The two-man extreme class, after coming out to collect the hardware, driving from the passenger side of the car in the two-man extreme car to collect the trophies and everything. J.D. Loreen and Dennis Hogan team to go on and win the two-man extreme class one and done over Chuck Rohrbacher and Mike McNutt, Austin, and Brian Hunt. We're third. They did that with almost no steering for most of the feature. The 15,000 to win points and a half. Tyler Dodd was the winner over Scotty Drevenak and Dylan Berger. And third, Superstock Ken Kiskadden. We're going to be talking to in a few minutes over Mike DeFrisch and Matt Gaskin. Reaper Award went to Mel White. So there's a rundown on the results from the Unified Points Series online to follow up with everything. 527UnifiedSeries.com. Up next, still 2 shows to go. On the 12th of November, Hardcore Promotions is going to host the Hardcore Cleanup Derby right back there in Dunbar, Pennsylvania. And then on the 26th of November, the season is going to conclude nearly a year-round effort after the season kick-started on New Year's weekend. From December 2021 into 2022. Coke Promotions hosts the Turkey Derby in Wabash, Indiana, the 26th of November. On the virtual unified side of things, we've got some new developments there. There we are. November 4th and 5th starts full-size show with 3 shows left on the schedule. The Turkey Derby for Coke Promotions on the 19th of November. The season concludes with a 2-day show with December's Devastation, Movito 324 Gaming, Crash Course Nationals were this weekend. The main class was won by Johnny Shanks picking up the win in the main class over Josh Atwood, Brandon Reimer, Alex Tyler Smith, first big show, running to 5th place behind Alex Sager, Dylan Blackburn ended up with the Mad Dog in the main class. Johnny Shanks' first win
in the Crash Course Nationals. He drove a Crown Vic to the win in that one. And also Josh Atwood and his brother Donnie running with a heavy heart. They had to swap heats. Because they had death in the family. Their grandmother had passed away, so they ran down to the family, got back, and Josh ended up making it back through the feature, and then ended up winning second place overall. And Brandon Reimer right there on the cusp, ran out of fuel, hung up at one point, started thrashing on the throttle, and you start burning gas faster than you want to, and ran out of third place for Brandon Reimer, wire class win went to Richard Walmsley. Richard got the wire class win, and then number 74. It was his first win at the Crash Course Nationals. And then also Johnny Shanks in the weld class on Friday night ended up taking the win in that one. So he picked up two wins on the weekend for Johnny Shanks in that trademark Army Green round back. Johnny Shanks played from Missouri down the side. We'll be talking with him tonight as well. Kyle Homer still on the leaderboard with 80 points to his credit. Andrew Hernandez 70 points. Johnny Shanks 56. He jumped third with that. Tied for fourth. Michael and Anthony Hernandez 52 points. Tied for sixth. Earl Ref, Wiley, and Herb Elkins 50 points. Ninth place is Rowdy Burns, and then tied for 10th. Trevor Mulder, Josh Atwood, and Alex Sager, who got a mad dog in the wire class as well. In the weld class, 36 points for them. And again, three derbies left for the virtual unified point series. The 4th and 5th is the next one. And the Stars Fall Show coming up this weekend. So there's the update on the unified point series standings at this point. 527 announcing 527unifiedseries.com for additional details on the 2022 schedule. Right now, 2022 champion officially crowned. J.D. Lorraine got the championship locked in second. Still some decisions to be made. With two events left, Hardcore Promotions Cleanup Show the 12th of November, and then finale, the Turkey Derby, Wabash, Indiana on the 26th. Online again, 527unifiedseries.com.
And we are back. There's a pretty comprehensive recap. We also had the Havoc Games heat with the Hall of Famers for the Crash Course. We're going to get into that a little bit later on as well. In the meantime, though, we've got Ken Kiskadden joining us on the phone. This is the second time that we've been able to do this in 3 years with Ken, and he's pulled some pretty good money out of Buried Alive. And Ken's joining us online, man. Congratulations! This is a pretty exciting win, man. It was excellent to see that you pulled this one down.
Yeah, it was definitely something, man. We had a lot of planning and definitely a lot of execution in this one.
Is it different than the first time through? You know, you were talking about the planning and the execution and everything that goes into this. Is it harder to win it a second time because now it's in the back of your mind that it's possible?
Well, I mean, I didn't get the 15K last year. It was one of them deals where it was a questionable call at the end, and it was I ended up second, but I had the rumble there the first year. Yeah. I kind of felt like all I had was like contingency prizes to the 10 or 15K going into this one. So I really wanted to make it solid on this one and get where I wanted to be. And I guess with the luck and the perseverance and the great team behind me, we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Rumble from back, I think it was in 2020 was when you got the first win. That would have been in Cumberland back when it was down there, right? And that sort of set in the back of my mind as being, at that point, probably the biggest win, but taking home $15,000 makes that probably a close second. But this jumping up to the top, and certainly by no means is it an easy thing to do to go win on a stage like that. But the preparation of the team, you've brought that up a couple of times, and we've said 1,000 times, Brian, that the Derby's won and lost in the garage, and it's the sum of all parts more than just the one or two big things. And it sounds like, Ken, that's sort of the case of what we're looking at here, that this is one of those things where it's not just car selection, it's not just having luck fall your way. You have to put yourself in position to capitalize on luck when it presents itself.
Absolutely. I got the best. I tell everybody, and I said it all weekend. I said it, to everybody that talked to me. I said I have the best people around me. I have the, I don't even. I'm kind of at a loss of words because, the amount of support that I had, getting to the show, down there. I mean, the amount of people that just walk by to, compliment the car, the craftsmanship, and everything like that. I mean, it was just a phenomenal weekend in total.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
How did you feel during the feature? I mean, like, did it feel like it was going your way? Did you feel like you were at the pace you wanted to be? Like, how did it feel throughout the feature?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. It was the most stressful derby I've ever ran in my life due to the fact that I took a gamble on, I don't know if any of you guys saw my setup on my car, but I wanted the whole thing low, and I took a slight gamble, and especially after seeing how high everybody was up front, I knew that once they freed these pointies down there, that there was a gamble that somebody would get over me, but I thought I had that happy medium. Hindsight being 2020, I probably would have been about an inch or two higher, but in the front. But other than that, the reason why it was so stressful was, it was 5-10 minutes after I got in there and of an hour-long feature, and I lost a rad. So I'm sitting there thinking, man, there's not a motor out there that's gonna, last the duration of this. And I can't say enough about the engine that I had in mind. It was my Fabry 383, and it just kept trucking.
Who builds your motors?
Dominic Fabry.
Dominic Fabry.
Nice. That's
and
cool.
It was making all kinds of, blowing all kinds of smoke, shooting some flames out of the headers, but it just never lost power, never stalled, never quit, and just kept going. So it was amazing.
Is it a safe bet that a couple bucks out of that $15,000 might go to a engine rebuild after this, just in case you got some stuff that might be a little?
I told DJ that he's not touching it until I change the oil and I rip it around the house a little bit here, because we drove it off the track. I drove it off the trailer at my house, drove it around a little bit out here, but I didn't want to do it, get too crazy with it till I get the oil changed in it and everything else. But it sounds great still. I mean, I don't know, but maybe I'm hopeful. We don't have to go dumping a little bit into it, but even if we do, it was 100% worth it.
Absolutely. Now the second question is I assume you got one of the big Happy Gilmore checks. Is that like hanging on the wall in the living room, or where's that with the big trophy?
Well, right now it's still in the garage. I have it down there with the car. They're bonding.
Oh, okay.
No, I have a nice little area in my basement that I finished off, and we have the checks wrapping around, and we have all the trophies in one corner. So eventually they're gonna make it down there. But my wife said that it has to spend some time up in the living room for a while.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. It's always good when a wife agrees to that. That's cool.
Right. Well, the ongoing joke is that my wife has had with Kayla McCullough, TJ's wife, was that she's decorating our living room with it, and then when we start a new year, we clear them out.
Hey, if it's a $15 or $15,000 check, I'd keep bringing them suckers home. That comes in handy, man. Did you ever think, when you knock the windows out of your first car, you'd win a demolition derby that pays $15,000?
Never, never. I
Really?
remember sitting there going to fair shows and watching. There was always some hammers in our area.
Yep.
Big time. There were always some hammers.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there.
That's okay.
You still there?
Yeah, we're here.
We're good.
Yeah.
Oh, there was always some hammers in our area and all the fair shows we went to. And I just remember standing there watching, and I would always say to my cousins, my brother, my dad, I'm going to be one of them guys someday. And I don't know if I'm necessarily one of them guys, but that was always a goal of mine. And it's very humbling, and it's something else, man.
you want to be one of those guys, and maybe you aren't on the grand scale of things, but when it comes to Buried Alive and Deadman shows, you're one of those guys now. Like, it's almost like, you know, certain late model drivers, no matter where they go in the country, as long as they get the chance to come back to X track, you know that they're going to win at X track. And that's kind of the situations you've got going on anytime the purple banners show up.
Well, I wish I felt the same, because I've had just as much hard luck down there, it seems, as what I've had great luck. But I have had a tremendous amount of success with his shows. He's I truly believe it's because of the pace of his shows. I thrive in the chaos more than if I have time to think or overthink a situation. That's when generally my mistakes start arising. But if it's chaos, that's generally when I can, you know, keep it rolling.
You know, and I know a lot of guys that have said that, like, and you know, I've got way more Mad Dogs than I do feature wins, but you know, a lot of guys say that, like, you know, once they get in a certain pace, like they enjoy it, like it's where they feel like they thrive. Mm-hmm. You know, where you kind of, you know, you're making a move, but you're also reacting to someone else's move. And I mean, you know, let's be honest. I mean, it's getting down to that. I mean, you know, you're running for money like this. I mean, it's, you know, you can't just go out there and stand on the gas for an hour and, you know, hope for the best. It's, you know, you have to make the right calls. And
right now,
yeah, right now,
one after another.
Yeah, and you know, I can agree with them. You know, I mean, it's, and I've heard other guys say that. You know, you get thinking too much, and you know, you overthink or you second guess yourself, and then you got a tire knocked off. So, you know, I've definitely heard that from other guys, and you know, it feels good when you get to that pace and you feel comfortable.
Well, when I'm hearing that, I'm thinking about, you know, the guy who was out in the Derby. How many times have we seen the situation play out where that guy is derbying to not lose?
Yeah.
And then the wheel gets knocked off by something just dumb. Like,
Yep.
it's nothing against them. He's doing all the defense right, but it's just something silly that ends up being the issue. And if you're out there working the car and keeping the pace up, then you're the aggressor, and it keeps everybody else on the defense, and you can benefit from that kind of stuff. You have to be in position to benefit from the breaks when the breaks present themselves.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And I mean, we've heard it from a million guys. You know, you make your own luck, and it's true. I mean, if you're doing the right things, then chances are the right things are going to keep happening. So that's, you know, I definitely agree with that.
So in terms of that combination, you've got Matt Gaskin out there with you, and you've got Mike DeFriscia out there as well, as you're running down to it, and clearly it's never anything that's a guarantee until the checkered flag flies, let alone the fact that you had the radiator cap break off very early. What was going through your mind when you got it down to those guys? Certainly no strangers to success, either one of those drivers.
I mean, it was kind of a wild feeling, because, you know, like Matt, you know, man, I was trying to get his and Evan King's front wheels all night long, and Tyler Dodds. I mean, I was trying to get their front wheels all night long, and those guys, I shook all their hands at the end of it, and I said, man, I could not get your front wheels. And it was slightly frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, man, this is the level of competition that I'm running against, and these guys, they're all wheelmen. And then, you know, Mikey, I've ran with Mikey for years, so I know that he's not going to give up a shot that, you know, for anything.
Right.
And he can wheel, you know. So I'm just sitting there thinking, man, whoever brings this home is, you know, going to be a happy guy.
And why not be you?
Yeah, and I mean, in that situation, those guys, they're looking clean. You know, I kind of went to the theory there, because I could feel the car wasn't bent, and I could see that the front and back was okay. Mm-hmm. So I just kept trying to follow the whole brute force thing, and you know, I was hitting cages, and I hate doing that, but I was hitting cages. I was driving up on the back of Matt, you know, several times, hoping I'd get his rear to drop out, which ultimately I did. So it ended up being a success, but man, what a slugfest. So
let's talk a little bit about that for a minute. With the setup that you went with was set up lower, and the idea is that you're not going to be hitting the tops of tires. You're going to be able to get into the wheels better, but also you run the risk of getting cleared. It'll get into the radiator. It's going to get into the core support faster at the expense of being able to keep the frame straight. My concern in hearing the way that you were describing things, you've already hit on, is hitting cages. When you're going for wheels, somebody throws a door to you. It's not so much the driver's door that you're worried about. It's the passenger door with a cage built into it.
Yeah.
As low as the car was, were you able to actually hit underneath where those cages were and save some of the lateral strength of the car from the bumper back to the firewall without it starting to pitch?
Yeah, I truly believe that the height that I was running up front, even with all the the brute force shots that I had, I mean, with the pointy that I had on the front and the way it was climbing, and I mean, when I was hitting the cages and the sides and even the corners of the front wheels and stuff, I don't believe that it was doing a crazy amount of damage to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was inflicting, and just you put that much weight and that much pressure to these, to another car under those hits, something's gonna give eventually,
Mm-hmm.
Now I haven't been able to watch the video yet. Did you run a Vic?
I had a 74 Cadillac.
Oh, all right, they're pretty tough cars.
They do okay.
They do all right. Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I'm very happy to hear that because I'm kind of sick of seeing Vics win everything. So it's good to hear that a 74 Caddy won. That's good.
Oh, it definitely had its Vic attributes.
Right.
Understand.
That's a bold move. Did you feel more at ease going up onto the back of Matt's car, knowing that you've already had issues with the temperature rising and the water in the radiator itself? So going up on top of that and ripping the bottom of your radiator out wasn't nearly as big of an issue?
That was where I was able to gain a different level of confidence, I guess, in how I hit. And for example, with Evan King and I, we had a phenomenal battle going back and forth, and I knew that he was going to come over top of me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the video, you'll see there's actually one time where we go, nose to nose pretty good, and I actually got him to bend, and it probably was the shot that gave mine a bend too, but it also it did bend him significantly, and it was shortly thereafter when he ended up going out. So I would say, yeah, definitely there was a different kind of confidence there to where, okay, well, the radiator's already gone. I may as well try utilizing this. And yeah, and I did. So, I mean, I've seen several drivers do it before, such as, the guys not running radiators and everything like that they'll just, take their front and dive under somebody and rip their rear out, But
here's the thing going forward. I mean, you just want an hour-long feature and you lost the radiator early. So, I mean, save yourself $150 and don't buy another aluminum radiator. Just run it without. I mean, obviously your motor builder does a hell of a job. So, just go out and run it the way you want, man. You're golden now.
I don't know if I'm going to do that quite yet, because it's not. I haven't stepped into the alcohol or methanol scene, so that'd be a little risky yet.
How about Ken? Did I see Mike Klinger was back on that track?
What was that?
Did I see Mike Klinger was back on track?
Yes, yeah. He was actually the one I was referring to as far as diving under and ripping people's rear ends out.
Yeah,
I remember watching him in the 70s Wire out there at Bash for Cash do that.
Yeah, he a buddy of mine was watching Saturday night, and he texted me and he said, "Does Klinger run number 409?" I said, "Yeah." "Cadillacs, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think he's running a Deadman." And I said, "Last I knew he had gotten out." And so Sunday I text Brett, no, maybe it was Saturday night, I don't remember, I worked a double, but I text Brett and I said, "Did Klinger run again?" He goes, "Oh yeah." So I'm looking forward to see that again. I always enjoy watching Mike run. Hell of a builder, hell of a driver. So
he got a Mad Dog Award.
Hard to believe.
I don't know if you caught that, but
Yeah, the Pennsylvania guys, they do all right in these big derbies.
They do.
They do okay.
I don't know if you caught that. J.D. Lorraine has clinched the championship, and with 3 shows left, he is still in the running for the Mad Dog overall as well. Can you imagine winning?
I'd show up to those 3 shows and just run flat out and Mad Dog it.
Right? Why not?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
To sweep that,
He's cool.
and 202 points amassed thus far is a new record.
Wow.
I mean, that's just silly. He won twice over the weekend. Steven Sickles did too.
Yeah.
Josh got second place in a couple classes, so that was cool to see. But I mean, just what a great way for. I was going to say great way to end Pennsylvania season, but they still have one more of those Frankie guys. Is this car going to run again?
Yeah. We checked it over pretty good. The back did pretty much exactly what we wanted it to do. Mm-hmm. It stayed hard the way we wanted it to for probably not quite as long as what we wanted it to, but some of the shots out there in the feature getting going were pretty rough. But the front's pretty right, I believe, with a couple slight adjustments and everything. The car will be it might not be at a big show again, but it'll definitely run again. Yeah.
Now, by the time you made it to the feature track, how many fix-it plates did you have on your car?
6.
6, okay. I assume 3 on each frame rail is the rule, or however many on each frame rail?
I think actually down there you can utilize them wherever you would like.
Oh, okay. I just wondered.
Was that wasn't the same class that had the 1 kicker rule, right?
No.
That wasn't the same class as what?
There was a show that was over the weekend. There was a discussion about where you would put the kicker if you were allowed 1 kicker.
No, it was no. This was just you're allowed the 12-inch bumper brackets, and then 4 fix-it plates for the heat, and then 2 additional ones for the feature.
I saw the debate in any case about this whole kicker thing was, well, obviously you'd put the kicker on the side of the steering box, right? And the rebuttal was, I would put one on each side and have them tell me which one to cut, because I'm going to leave the leg of it there so it'll still catch something.
Yeah, you cut a 1/4 inch out of the middle and then run it, and once it bends there, it locks in, and we're good. So makes sense,
right? Perfect. Well, is there anybody? I know we talked about the team, we talked about the preparation, and we talked about the show as a whole down there, and obviously the February power plant did its job. Is there anybody else that you want to make mention of that helped make this thing happen? Because it's certainly no small feat to take home that $15,000 win.
Oh, absolutely. Smith Metal Works has been my backbone for, years, and I'm family with those guys. They definitely, it's awesome, the relationship we have. We kick each other parts, cars, everything when we need, them guys. Dominic Fabry, he's been nothing but supportive. He's blew it out of the park on an engine for me, and we have several of them now. And he's great with customer service. And I'm proud to call him a friend. And then on top of that, my transmission guy is Bill Hurlbrink, and he's actually very local to me. And he's been building my trannies for 5 years, and I can't say enough good about that man. He's absolutely blown it out of the park for me on transmissions. I can't even. I haven't had a transmission go out since he's been building.
No more. Don't stop that. Stop.
So
don't tempt fate.
It's definitely great. And then all the guys in my shop that help, constantly, driving a half hour to help, every night to, because we all ultimately have the same goal. We want to be on the top, and these guys, they pour their heart and soul into it, and we all help each other build the cars. And, Kenny Marsh, Kevin Dieter, Travis Myers. There's just so many working parts to our system. Like my dad, my father-in-law, there's so many more guys, but there's so many moving parts in our system, and it's not organized. It's not perfect by any means. We were kind of making jokes a little bit. After I borrowed a wrench off of Steve Siopa down there, and I said to the guys when I got back, I said, "Man, you ought to see how clean their trailer is up there." And I go back and we look at our trailer, and we got welders everywhere. We got grinders. Everything's all over the place, and it's like, well, this is what works for us. So, so it's this whole experience, this go around here has been very, very humbling, and it's flat out awesome.
Now, what was it like Monday? I assume you probably got home from work and you didn't have to go out in the garage and bust your butt on a car. You could just kind of relax. That had to feel kind of good too, didn't it? Just kind of put your feet up and just take it easy for a little while.
Oh man, I think that would be a question for my wife more than me. No, it's definitely wonderful just actually taking a breath.
Yeah.
I told several people it just feels like there was a tremendous weight lifted after the anticipation of this build and this run and everything. It's the first time that I've ever drove home from a Derby calm. So it was quite odd, but it was very refreshing.
And that's the thing. I mean, we talked last week with TJ, and the stature of this Derby has definitely grown with each year. I mean, I feel it's definitely on its way to being a destination Derby. And I mean, we see the quality of cars, for the last 2 years, and I'm sure this year is it'll take another step. And just casual Derby fans don't understand what these guys go through to put these cars together, and to sit there and think, man, I want this to do this, and then it's going to do that, and then it's going to be tight here, and we're going to be good. And people just don't understand it, and it's. It really is. I mean, these guys are engineers without the degrees, and it's just a hat off to Ken and the rest of the guys. I mean, it's whoever won that feature was going to earn it.
Yep.
And it was Ken's night, so obviously everything worked out well.
Well, Ken,
it was great for us. We talked about strategy, of how to get to the feature. Should we go for a Reaper? Should we, play it smart? And when I pulled out onto the track for my heat, I had no idea what I was going to do. And then I made the decision about 30 seconds into the heat that it's go time. I feel as though the easiest route for me to come out look at clean was to go for the Reaper. And, that was our main focus while we were building the car. And it was just kind of very wild to exactly how we said we wanted to get there. It came into fruition.
It's always nice when a plan comes together, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Ken, man, congratulations on the win. I guess at this point, really, there's no other words, man. Just congratulations. Couldn't happen to a better guy. I know it would have been nice to see Matt up there. It would have been nice to see Evan up there. It would have been nice to see Mike up there. We had so many people that we knew that was running in there. So it was great to see the success for you, to get back up there and to put your name up there where it belongs. It was nice to win the Rumble, but I bet you that $15,000 to win victory was even nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a lot. The last person that I need to thank is definitely, last people would be my wife and kids, because they went through it just as much as I did with the mental stress, the time spent, everything like that. And I mean, those guys, they helped when they could. They blew it out of the park as well. And it makes a guy feel very blessed.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, man, and keep in touch. Let us know where the next one's going to be, and we're going to cut to a quick break here. We're going to fill you in on what's going on with the hardcore tour, and then hit a couple more high spots before we come back, and we'll catch up with Johnny Shanks, talk about what he did over the course of the weekend. We'll be right back.
The 2022 Hardcore Tour is set to wrap up November the 12th. They've got their fall cleanup show. $100 entry, 100% payback, plus $500 from Hardcore to the limited full-size class. $60 entry, 100% payback, $500 from Hardcore to each of the Hardcore compacts, hobby stocks, and street stock compacts. $50 entry, 100% payback, compact, full-size, and minivans, trucks, and SUVs. All that goes down at the Fairgrounds in Dunbar, Pennsylvania. If you're looking for additional rules or additional information, jump online, hardcorederby.com, or jump on their very active Facebook page. Check in with Frankie Guy. Once again, Hardcore's 2022 season is going to wrap up November the 12th, Fat County Fairgrounds, Dunbar, online, hardcorederbypromotions.com.
Jeffy's Fab, Fredericksburg, Virginia, specializes in all of your demolition derby needs. We've got you covered from bumper to bumper. Whether you need headers, shifters, harnesses, fueling systems, or complete turnkey setups, Jeffy'sFabFarm.com can help. We've even got a Canadian branch to help our northern customers. With over 16 years in the industry, we've got the knowledge and experience needed to provide the highest quality parts and put you in the winner's circle. Visit our website today or call Jeff at 540-907-3390. Fabby says the best parts come from the farm. Jeffy'sFabFarm.com.
Smash Demolition Derby's regular season concluded over the weekend with the annual Fall Cleanup Show. That was the Fayette County Fairgrounds, the Fall Cleanup Show, opening round of action. Dylan Lewis took the win there in the Pro Stock class from Middletown, Ohio. Pro Stock mini class, Matt Phillips got the win from St. Paris, Ohio. He also got the Mad Dog Award for his efforts in the Pro Stock mini class. Street Stock full-size Zach Pryor from Greenfield got the win there. Two groups of Street Stock mini class. Doug Houston from New Vienna won the first one. Ryan Rui from St. Paris got the second. Street Stock trucks and vans, Dylan Christian from Sydney took the win there, and then youth mini car Sean Hicks from Somerville took the win. So now with the regular season officially in the books for Smash It, attention is going to turn to that gigantic postseason show out there at the Stormont Vale Event Center in Topeka, Kansas. Blizzard Bash waiting right around the corner. November 9th through the 13th. Wednesday, 7 o'clock start for the heat draws. Again, all times posted here are the Central Time Zone. Thursday is the first round of actual on-track action. The national qualifying teams will go through their opening rounds. Inspections open at 8 a.m. Again, action at 6. Friday, 6 o'clock start for round number 2. National Land qualifying, winner side and loser side. Those will both see action on track along with the limited weld one and done inspections again open at 8 a.m. Saturday is the twin bill, 10 o'clock start time for the compact and limited weld teams. That's their first round, and then the youth feature. Then we'll take the afternoon break, come back for a 6 o'clock start for the power wheels. All 4 B features for the compact, limited weld, national and qualifying side, and then the modified and the truck one and done will both be on that 6 o'clock card. Pits open at 9:30 in the morning on Saturday. That all leads us to Championship Sunday noon start time for the 4 team features. National champions battling for 50,000 to win. Qualifying champions going to be seeing 20,000 to win. Additional details, rules, further details on schedules and driver meetings and everything. It's all available online. SmashItDerby.com, and it's going to be aired only for you folks to watch it if you can't make it out to the Stormont Vale Event Center online at DerbyNation.tv. So follow the links, follow the information. If you need anything more, jump online. SmashItDerby.com.
Welcome back, and so here's some good news. Jason Dials is in the shop right now listening along.
Awesome.
Not with his feet up, though.
No, this close to the Blizzard Bash. I'm sure he's probably elbows deep building something that's unique and hard. So,
and Toast is in the shop doing the same.
Ooh, that's
Toast
pretty
is in
neat.
the shop cutting up a transmission, I guess, is what's going on there. So, ask no questions, hear no lies.
Yeah,
I guess on that one, right?
That's interesting, huh?
Yep. And Nick Stepek back on the line for the first time in a long time. Jeff Showman checking in, and we've got one Johnny Shanks joining us. The pride of Platte City, Missouri, is hanging out with us here for I believe for the first time on the show. And Johnny, you're going to be making the trip over to Blizzard Bash, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get there probably Thursday and Friday.
That's awesome. I look forward to catching up with you. It's only a quick drive. I mean, when we touch down, we're landing in technically we're landing in Platte City, so we're probably flying over Johnny's house, right?
Yeah, I'm like 2 minutes from the airport.
All right. Well, if I can save some money on a rental car,
We were going to try that once and it didn't work out. It's a different story.
But Johnny was busy this weekend as well, running into the wee hours of Saturday morning to win the Weld Class Championship of the Crash Course Nationals 5. Just figured now would be a good time to take a quick hit on the virtual Demolition Derby world as we move into the season where everybody in the Northeast is more than content to be inside playing video games. He won the Weld Class Championship at the Crash Course Nationals 5 and then turned around Saturday and almost ran the table. He got 5th in the wire class and then won the championship and overall. So congratulations out to Johnny. And earlier in the week, Johnny sent me a message. He goes, I just kind of threw the cars together, but my goal is to finish top 5 in all my classes. And in the back of my mind, I thought, boy, that's not the kind of guy you want motivated, And sure enough, he put together some weapons. And congratulations, man. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, the Vic, I wasn't for sure on the Vic.
Now, why is that?
Just mainly a wagon guy, but.
So why go with the Vic versus going with the wagon?
It was cheaper.
It was cheaper.
Oh my goodness, we've heard it all now.
He's not wrong.
I've gone the expensive route, and that didn't work out very well.
So for the crash course shows, what I used to do is I would take what the market value was, and divide it by 10. Take a zero off the end, or 2 zeros off the end. So if you wanted to run a round back, there might only be 2 or 3 for the rule set that was out there. Like Cuca Clash rules, you were not going to see a fleet full of round backs. So if you wanted one of the round backs, you got to pay $25 to get the spot, and there's only 2 of them. So some of them went fast and some of them didn't. But this time, I took a page out of the Tioga County Fair book from back in the 80s and 90s.
Just let everything go.
Well, I let everything go. The roundbacks were a little bit more expensive. It was $25 a ticket for a roundback and an Imperial, and they went into a heat only against themselves.
Ooh, I like that.
And then everybody else just fell in as they came through the gate. So the first ticket in was heat 1, the second ticket in was heat 2, and so on. And by the time we were done, all the cars seemed like they were pretty even. I don't know if there was necessarily an advantage to running a roundback. Then it was the same bracket as is used at Blizzard Bash, double elimination. There's the C mains and then the B main, and the winners that lose switch sides. It was like that, but it was still single entry. And once we got through that main center of the bracket, everybody was re-racked. So the roundbacks and the Imperials were all put into general population with everybody. And it seemed like the cars were pretty even. And Johnny put together a spectacular Ford. It looked like he got stuck once, and I'm like, oh boy, but he was able to motor right out of there. And ultimately, the lighter car and not getting stuck probably saved him enough fuel to win it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. Atwell and Vito, they ran out of fuel right up there at the end.
How crazy is it you could run out of fuel in a video game? Like, that is so awesome.
And the thing is you can change your engine combinations and your gearing, and you can change your RPM limiter so that you're not consuming as much fuel, but you run the risk of not being able to generate enough wheel spin if you got high center or something like that. The spot that the game in right now is awesome. And with as even as things were, with the shocker wagons were all out there in force, and there was a bunch of different build theories on those. The Fords were pretty similar end to end, but it didn't strike me that you were running anything that was particularly out of line with what was sort of the standard for power plant and gearing though on that car.
Yeah, it was geared right. I mean, I just picked my shots. Hitman Holman, he was the top, he's the leader, so we had some battles, but we leave it on the track. It's good. He's a good guy.
So what Johnny's referencing is the virtual unified point series. Much as we were talking about J.D. Lorraine with the unified point series, there's a virtual unified point series where promoters and hosts of the video game stuff, they'll pay in just like the real promoters will, and their event will pay points. And if it's a Heat Consi feature class, it pays double points. If it's just a one and done, it just pays standard points. You can only score one time in a weekend. And Hitman Kyle Holman, he's out in front right now with the points lead, and Johnny jumped up to third now, and there's 3 events left. Ooh. So he's trying to run him down, and it's the right time to get hot, I suppose, right, Johnny?
Yeah. I unfortunately I didn't get in the Cody Koch show. I've been busy outside of this, and I think 13 down on the alternate. So hopefully I can get in.
Yeah, that's a lot of alternates.
Bunch of people not showing up.
But I mean, we were talking about with Ken here in the last segment about where things are at in terms of the real derby stuff, and Vito made some comments about how difficult it was to run, and it was one of the most difficult features to work their way through it. Somebody else that ended up getting wheel locked and had some high expectations and aspirations for the weekend ended up not making it, and it cost a controller. Is it as challenging? Is it as intense for you when you're driving and you know you're looking at the end of the derby and wanting to put that feather in your cap?
This one, you still get nervous in them. I wasn't worried in this one for some reason because I didn't think I was going to make the feature. Honestly, in the B main, I had to fight through B main to win it to get to the A main. So, I mean, and I don't have that much patience for past 45 minutes on a video game.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be the same way.
It worked out. The car was holding up, so.
I don't honestly know how long the feature was. I don't remember, but I know that Friday was a little optimistic. Friday we set the goal a little high, and we took a little longer than I planned. But Johnny hung around and he took an unlimited round back and did okay with that too. That one. It looked pretty early like you were going to be one of the cars to beat.
Yeah, I broke a tie rod probably a minute in with the wagon, but I never had flats, and that was the only issue. I got around good, me and Bryson.
I didn't know that.
How crazy is it that you can know you broke like this game is so amazing to me. Like, and I mean, I've only played it a couple. I think it's been like 2 years.
Yeah, it's
probably
been a while
since I've played. And like the leaps and bounds they're making is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really cool. Like this is something like old derby drivers can do when they're when they can't derby anymore because their necks and backs are shot. But
exactly.
No, man, it's so awesome. Like it's awesome to hear what these games can do. I mean, that's great, and it's and something I always thought because I'm a little bit older than Chris, and like when I was a kid, there was always video games, and there was on occasion there was an arcade down on East Road. And there was only ever one Demolition Derby game, and it was kind of lame.
Which one was that?
I don't know. It was a Demolition Derby game.
Oh, at the arcade, you mean?
Yeah, like the arcade.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
And there was always racing games and always football games, and I love football, but there was never a derby game. And I'm like, kids would love this stuff. You get to smash cars and and it's just great, and it took a derby guy to finally do it, and I'm glad that he has, and obviously so many people enjoy it, and to be able to have a points deal like you guys do, and so many people following it. I mean, how does it get any better than that? I mean, you can literally make money playing a Demolition Derby video game. Mm-hmm. No, you're not going to break a bank, but you can still make money playing Demolition Derby video games. Like, that's awesome.
This was not. By tuning it down this time through, I almost think that we kind of hit the sweet spot of where things need to be for the Crash Course National shows. Anyway, I thought this weekend went exceptionally smooth. It seems like more money, more problems.
Oh yeah, always. And it doesn't matter what it is. More money, more problems. And the story.
Bobby Krause is in the live chat right now, and he won the first Crash Course Nationals. He took home $1,000 for his efforts, and we paid out some pretty stout money for that one. And the inspections were more intense, and people were trying to squeak stuff through. And that was way back before we had all the advancements that we have now. There's a ton of sponsor parts in there. Jeffy's got an engine in the game now. And by tuning things down or keeping a little bit more stock, by opening up the right things so that there wasn't a ton of time wrapped up in inspection, it was easy to get the cars through and let people build cars the way that they wanted to. And Johnny's Ford was set up very different from some of the other Crown Vics that are out there. There was a bunch of different build styles for some of the shocker wagons and stuff. And some people opted to go with the standard leaf pack and lift the car up in the air. Some people went with a built leaf pack to try and keep the rail straight. The guys that had Imperials, there was all sorts of combinations there. It really let people find what was going to work for them and run it. And like Johnny said, he broke a tie rod, no flats. He had the combination that worked for him, and in both classes that he ended up taking home wins in. And I'm sure if we talk to Richard Wamsley, who he got his first win at the Crash Course Nationals this weekend too, and he's run a bunch of them. I think he'd probably say the same thing. There was enough there to where he could find a comfort level to fit his style of driving, and there wasn't any need to really adjust until it started getting into the late stages in the deep water. Johnny, I mean, in terms of the car doing what you wanted it to do and the advancements of the game, what are you seeing from your perspective? You've been a guy that's been at the top of the top of the heap and finishing up in the front all along. But this the latest advancements here, you're still able to keep the car there.
Yeah, I like how it's going. It's the Vic. I'm an old Iron Man, so I like the wagon. I like the old sedans, and this Vic actually is the Vic that I ran in Vito's show back. I can't remember, last spring or
Yep.
when I got put out with the wheel
Right.
when it came down the 4. So I mean, it's a good car. I changed it to the rules, and they're coming along good. I wish get a 2-door Impala.
Tell me
76
the
2
story.
door is what I want.
So many pictures that if anybody knows anything about Johnny Shanks, you recognize the car immediately. There's the orange and black V roof sign, and then there's the license plate on the side. It's a Missouri license plate decal that says Shanks. Where did that come from?
I thought of it. I was trying to think of a paint scheme for, it was Capital Carnage 2-Man Extreme, and I messaged Corey Beal, sent him a picture, kind of what I wanted, and he said he could do it. And that's where we were at.
So I thought that you'd been running the license plate for even longer than that. I didn't realize that it was so recent.
No, yeah, it was 2 years ago I started it.
Oh, okay. It just looks so
Yeah,
mean.
the picture you showed me, it definitely looked awesome. It was cool.
And
Yeah.
the real cars look like that too, and they're built just as well. That 2-door is probably not too far off, I don't believe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Is there suicides on the show?
Not yet. There's some conversations that once this, the biggest hang up right now was the leaf packs, getting the leaf pack to break and getting the leaf pack to compress the way that you would want it to. And now the leaf packs, and at least in my eyes, the leaf packs are in a pretty good spot. The rules that we had for the wire class that Richard Walmsley won, you weren't allowed to run hump plates and you weren't allowed to run chains. So the couple shockers that were there, they whale-tailed right above the axle, and the whole back trunk section went all at one time, just like a whale-tail would. It rolled right up. And one of the shocker wagons did the same thing, where with the chains, the back bumper would push up to the roof and it would kind of scorpion a little bit. The whole thing just moved as one piece. It would bend just behind the pillar on the wagons.
Or
And
at the speaker deck.
yeah, it just like the wagons would. And so now that stuff is sort of in a good spot, that stuff's in a good place and is doing the stuff that the dynamics that Jesse wants with RDP, the Realistic Derby Project. You can find that on Patreon, and then Green Derby and BeamNG.drive. Now that he's got the leaf springs kind of where he wants them to go, the leaf conversions on, I think, the 73 Impala are out. So there's going to be a leaf conversion that's coming for the 03, and there's going to be some additional leaf stuff coming, and one of those may or may not be along the lines of a suicide.
Cool.
Potentially.
Hypothetically.
There's a short list of leaf sprung cars that just by looking at them, it's like, I don't know what one I want first, but make sure they all get here, you know?
That's cool. That's really cool.
But also on Saturday night, we had the Hall of Fame heat. I went back through the first 3 or 4 and kind of compiled the people that had had the most success at the Crash Course Pass shows. Kyle Holman has won 2 of the 4 main classes. Chris Parton was second in the first one, and he won number 4. He ended up having a small fire at his house, a little emergency, so he wasn't able to be there. He's in the process of finding a new place. So thinking about him, and then Josh and Donnie Atwood had their grandmother die.
Well, that sucks.
Unexpectedly. So they were actually in the first consolation round, and asked to get kicked down to the second one, so that they could go see the family and then come back. They made it back, and Josh ended up second. But just all of the changes and all that other stuff sort of led us to the point where having this pool of drivers would be cool to see these guys get back on head to head with each other. So Dalton Roode, who's got the most Mad Dogs, went head to head with a group of drivers that was compiled by Kyle Holman, who's got the most wins. So it was Jeff Smalley was out there, Cody Koch was out there, Bobby Krause came back and he drove a car and with Hitman and Rowdy Burns.
Cool.
They were against Alex Sager, Dalton. Who else ran with those guys? Lee Sager, Dylan Blackburn, and Brandon Reimer. And it was contested as Havoc games. The walls were open on both ends of the track, and 2 dead cars were put in the middle to split the ring in half. And the first 2 entered, and they derbied for 2 minutes. And then the other team had a man advantage, and they kept evening it up. And it didn't start until all 5 cars were on the track at the same time, contested under lights out rules. Hit hold, be as nasty as you want to be. It was entertaining.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, the whole thing. So I'm hoping that we can use that format to have a Havoc Games tournament in the spring, and it would be Crash Course National 6 Surfer Wars, and every round would be contested that way. And then Johnny can get together with some of the folks that are in and around Kansas City that he runs with and put together a pretty stout group of 5.
That's cool.
You know anybody that'd be willing to run that with you, Johnny? Uh-oh. Did we lose Johnny?
Yeah, I got a couple nephews, Andrew and Anthony Hernandez.
Yeah, they
Cool.
do. They do very well.
Very cool.
Yep.
They're, yeah, and then the Browns. I could probably get a couple of the Browns and then the Hernandez.
Do you go out deer hunting at all?
No,
No. And I think Andrew,
I got
Andrew
burnt out
Anthony
on that as a kid.
Andrew and Anthony were out in the woods, and they were a little worried about the start time on Friday because they want to make sure that they were able to get back.
That's awesome.
Well, they're out in the woods right now as we're speaking.
It's a good place to be in the woods when you're in Missouri and or Kansas.
You guys have any real world derbies coming up the rest of this year? Or are you all done for 2022?
I'm done. I sold out
Oh,
a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm gonna take a year off, let the body heal up, take care of more important things, and I'll get back in it. Just taking a break.
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, it's kind of awkward to say, is there anybody that you want to thank or anything for the for the video game side of things? But by all means, man, if there's any sponsors or anybody that helps, I don't know, buy frustrated controller replacements or something, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us for a little while. And congratulations. As soon as I got that message that said your goal was top 5 in all 3 classes, it felt like it might just be your weekend, and I'm glad you're able to pull this one off.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was 48 drivers. I think that's what it was. They were all 48 drivers were top notch.
That was
So,
one of the goals,
good.
to make it hard to
show.
qualify for and make each one of those rounds feel like a feature. And man, when Vito said that it was one of the hardest features they ever had to drive, it was pretty wild. It was quite the compliment. And congratulations. Hang on to it for a little while, and I look forward to catching up with you down there in Topeka here in about 9 days.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, man. I
I'll
appreciate.
find out today.
All right, sounds good to me.
See you guys
We'll
later.
see you later.
See ya.
Thanks, Johnny. There goes Johnny Shanks. We're not exactly unto ourselves in terms of the Derby video game stuff. Before I ever was able to play online, I found out that Nate was someone who played the video games on not R Factor, but even before that, I believe, in playing on Grand Theft Auto. And there's a bunch of people that still talk about GTA derbies that have the same handles now, their nicknames in the lobbies, that were playing back then. So potentially, Nate has locked horns with video game derby royalty and didn't even know it was happening in live time.
So explain to me, like, how does a GTA derby work? Do you just get a bunch of guys and cars, and because usually you beat up people and steal their cars and shoot people in the face?
Well, they had particular cars that were good. There was an '80s Cadillac and there was a Crown Vic and stuff. And some of those games, some of those cars at one point were even in the RDP game, but it wasn't the same soft body dynamics. But you could compete and you'd find an arena like it was the top of a skyscraper or whatever, and you would derby each other and you'd lie about buying these add-ons. Nate was saying that he used to cheat his car and then lie about it, and anybody asked, and I mean, why not? If you're not cheating, you're not trying, I suppose.
Absolutely,
right?
I agree completely.
Well, we got one more break queued up. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back with a final wrap-up, and we'll put a pin in the video game discussion when we cross the bridge with Ross Chastain. We'll be right back.
Demolition Derby Life magazine releases 12 copies a year and covers all of the action, coast to coast. For the Demolition Derby World, home of the hottest action motorsports magazine on the market. There's over 30 editions that have been published to date. A full-year subscription is $119, and past issues are available. They should be coming out with another release here in the coming weeks. Make sure you jump online and follow along. Find out more about Lexi Joes and everything going on with Demolition Derby Life magazine on DemolitionDerbyLife.com. RPM Group is a progressive waste management business serving nearly 4,000 residents and businesses around Owego, New York. RPM Group can take care of all your waste management needs. Boasting a fleet of 2 roll-offs and 6 garbage trucks, RPM is fully insured and ready to serve. Ask about asbestos abatement and surveys, interior and exterior demolition, private parties and foreclosures, curbside trash and recycling, all that and more. Click or call, ask for Corey, tell him you heard about him here at the Crash Course Nationals, rpmgroupny.com, or 607-223-8714.
Where'd you go? We did the derby. Ow, my head! You went to a derby?
Hey Derby World, this is All For Him Racing Videos, where Derby never ends. We have people come up and ask, what is All For Him Racing Videos? And the answer is a YouTube channel dedicated to growing the sport of demolition derby in a positive and fun way. Our passion is to show the next generation the sport and capture the memories for generations to come. We're just trying to show that you can be a Christian, do crazy and exciting things like demolition derby, and just spread the word. We have traveled all over the country filming events, all while meeting many great people, hearing amazing stories, seeing the passion for this sport, and falling in love with the derby community. We have grown to be the largest demolition derby channel on YouTube across the world, with millions of views within our large library of videos. We love what we do and can't wait for what the future has in store. We always want to be a place for positive, exciting, and action-packed derby videos. Thank you, Derby World, and enjoy the video.
And we're back here to wrap things up here on episode number 417. Big thanks out to Ken Kiskadden and Johnny Shanks for coming and hanging out with us for a little while. I don't know if you noticed over the weekend, just a quick end around back to the topics that we were on. Drivers doing very drivery things. Matt Shepard finishing third and locking up both the Short Track Super Series and the Elite Series Championship, which brings his season winnings to, do you know?
Just under 600,000.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And he still has to go to the World Finals, where he's going to close up his 9th championship, and then he's going to go on the Cajun Tour with the Short Track Super Series and probably clean house down and so down along the Mississippi too.
He's going to close in on 700,000.
Yeah.
You know what though? And
I don't know what you get for winning the Super Series Championship anymore.
I think it's 50 or 60 grand. I don't remember.
It's a little more than I thought.
I can't remember what my brother got when he won it. It was a while ago, but and it's not funny. It's sad. I saw it online today. Guys were bitching about this guy was supposed to be a reaper and he didn't hit hard enough in the feature. Blah 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 blah. And then you see stuff about Matt Shepard. He cheats and he does this and he does that. Blah 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 blah. If you're not a fan, then just say, hey, I'm not a fan. Like, just leave it at that. Like, that's all you really have to do. It's annoying. Would Matt do this 20 years ago? Who knows? 20 years ago, Matt was more than 20 years ago, but,
But more than 20 years ago, your sentence still holds up.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, it's, I was there more than 20 years ago. I'm going on 50, and I've been a racist since I was 2. And, yes, Matt would be good in any era. He's just that good. And it's just annoying. It's, like motorsports, I feel cannibalizes itself as a whole more than anything.
But can't you say the same thing about, there was that discussion that was going on here not too long ago. Like, what's your Mount Rushmore of Demolition Derby? Wouldn't Toby Hiley have been good in any era?
Yes.
Wouldn't, the Whitakers, haven't they proven that they can do whatever
Absolutely.
era might be in front of them?
Yep.
And I think we've got drivers around here that's sort of the same situation. If given the opportunity to run whatever era with whatever combination of talent you want to put on the track, I think that they can hold their own. I mean, we've seen drivers that we know personally go compete well at the Pontiac Silverdome.
Yes.
They've done it.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
Did they become dominant forces? No, but they did it.
Yeah.
And part of that even gets heat. Part of that even gets heat.
Yes. Something completely off topic, but I wanted to mention that. Go ahead.
Let me bring it back, and then we'll wrap that stuff up.
Okay.
But on the video game side of things, Ross Chastain made everybody's dream come true on the last lap, going from 10th to 5th with a lap that was 2.5 seconds faster than the leader to get into the championship chase. And the person that got fined out of it was Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, that's you got to look at it one of two ways. Is it a pure driving move? No. But did he do what he had to do to succeed? Yes. And that's, I mean, they're an underfunded team. You know what I mean? He wins that, and I have an opinion on NASCAR racing. If anybody wants to know it, get a hold of me off air and I'll tell you what I think about that. But, he's got a chance. He's got a 25% chance of winning the championship. That'll change his life forever. So,
change that team.
Yeah, change that team forever. So, good for him. He did what he had to do.
You were saying. So
we went to Iron City Nationals, and then we went on a month break because they were redoing this beautiful studio, and they were moving everything around. So we didn't have a true wrap-up show after Iron City.
We didn't have a true wrap-up show, and I don't think we actually got to have our anniversary episode either.
No. Well, we'll work on that, though. I know the guy that produces this. Maybe he can work it in somewhere.
Nate?
So we obviously, I didn't make it to the Friday night show, Iron City Nationals. Nick had a game. So Saturday, Zach and I drove down. And, as usual, Chris was up doing the technical stuff. And, I was out kind of to beat in the pits and looking for stories and talking to people. And I came across something that I found very interesting. I made my way.
Hat on 81?
No. No, that's some bitch is gone. That wasn't 81. I think we were in Ohio when that happened. But I walked up to where the inspection is done at Iron City Nationals. Mm-hmm. And Iron City Nationals is Todd Siopa and Steve Siopa. They're Iron. Steve, I believe, if I'm wrong, somebody can text me. Steve kind of oversees like on-track stuff. He does, he's kind of the inspections and all that stuff, and Todd takes care of kind of everything else. So I walk up and, I shake hands with Steve, and he's like, these inspectors. He goes, I don't know what they're doing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, this rule is wrote this way, and it was wrote this way to be interpreted this way, but the inspectors don't see it that way. Now, his inspectors are Mark Siopa, who is like his twin brother. They grew up 6 days apart. Evan King, who's been doing it for a little while. He's got a little experience.
Nick King.
Nick King. I'm sorry, Nick King. Mark Burrows, who works on Steve's cars on occasion, and then there's a couple other guys, and they were disagreeing over and if I get it wrong again, correct me. But they were over the fuel cell protectors, like how it could be or how it could be done. And it was a true disagreement. They did not see it the same way. So Steve stepped back, said, you know what, guys, we're gonna discuss this in the off season. You inspect the way you think is right, and that's how it's gonna be. And we've seen at numerous big shows where somebody will have an issue. They'll go to a promoter, say, hey, look, can you da-da-da-da, and they'll go have a secret handshake talk and come back and they'll override the inspectors. Mm-hmm. Steve didn't do that. Steve said, okay. He goes, you guys agree how this is being inspected. That's the way you're inspecting it. That's going to be that way. We'll talk about it in the off season. And I thought that was like the coolest thing because, he could have said, no, this is how it is, and that's it, because, he's the boss.
At what cost to the show,
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And he didn't. He said, I disagree with what you guys are doing. This is how it was supposed to be, or this is how it was interpreted. So, and I thought that was so awesome that he said, okay, and left it, and I wanted to shout him out for weeks for that, but I just, life has been hectic, and, we've been here a couple times and 4 times, I think, and we always get busy and don't get to talk about it. But I just thought that was the coolest thing, to see that.
I think he got 5th at Deadman.
Did he?
Yeah.
Good deal. So
he got the steering knocked out of it early, but
yeah, it's
not a
steering's
matter
overrated to them good
not
guys.
a matter but if, but when. Carry on.
Yeah. So but again, I just wanted to say that, and his inspectors, they uniformly inspected it, and it was to the way they all agreed on it, and he disagreed, and he said, okay, we'll talk about it in the off season. And I thought that was one of the best things. I've seen all forms of racing, top to bottom, local. I know guys that have worked on the cup level and the whole 9 yards, and I felt that it was great for that to happen that way. It was great for the show. I feel it showed the inspectors the amount of respect that Steve has for them.
Well, they're hired to do a job, yeah.
And they as a group agreed, and they said, okay, that's the job we're going to do, and I thought that was great. So I just wanted to get that out there, and definitely an attaboy on that, and I only hope that next year is as wild as this year was again.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it. Any final thoughts?
Go Giants.
Do you think that NFL planned it, that both teams that have orange and black colors were playing on Halloween night?
No.
I
think it was just lucky.
No, it was a horrible game.
Yeah,
anyway,
it was ugly.
it was ugly. Well, I guess that's going to do it for us here at the FingerLakes1.com studios. We appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while. We're going to be back here again next Monday, sort of setting the stage for everything that we're looking forward to in
Go ahead.
Blizzard Bash. Got a message from Chris Lancaster. He's getting into town next Tuesday, so looking forward to catching up with him down in Kansas. And
I have 11 days left to work, and then I have 45 straight days off.
Okay, all right.
Well, just trying to get that out there. Got excited.
All right. I'm sure that'll win you some points. That's going to do it for us here. Episode 417 in the books. We'll see you again next time.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandoned Derby apparel and Derby 8 magazine.
This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.